Morning, cows. Do we see any calves? What about you, Patty? Your udder is huge. No calf yet. Hey, Coco. You still have a giant udder too. Sally, your udder's getting big. Hi, Tulip. You still have a giant udder too. Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. That's the way every day starts these days. Calf check on the cows. This morning we're going to the butcher to pick up Daffodil. She was the 5-year-old cow that calved late 2 years in a row and became a cull cow. Beautiful morning today. Leaves are starting to come out on the trees. $10 boxes, fits in the back seat. This cow dressed at about 450 pounds. She cost us $609 to have butchered. This is USDA inspected. It gets the stamp for sale at market. If you go to a custom exempt facility, you can get it done cheaper. We got back about what we would expect. 4 boxes of ground beef and 6 boxes of roasts and steaks and short ribs and that sort of thing. You usually want to figure 1/3 ground beef, 1/3 roasts, 1/3 steaks when you have a beef processed. Here's a sirloin steak, chuck roast, short ribs, bone-in ribeye steaks, porterhouse steaks. What we find with cows that are this age, 5 years old, is the meat has a richer flavor and the steaks stay tender. You can see that she had a lot of nice fat cover on her. You get nice marbling in the steaks. Even though she was just off of a calf, had just weaned a calf, she kept that fat. And to my mind, it's some of the best beef that we sell comes out of cull cows. Next thing, it's time to take the next step toward getting the garden planted. Actually, part of the garden's already planted. In the raised beds, we've got radishes, arugula, mesclun mix, mustard, and romaine already growing. And yesterday I succession planted another round of those greens to keep them coming. Get off there, cat. We'll do about 6-inch overlap.
Okay.
This is 50-pound plain craft paper. The 50 pounds designates its thickness. I severely undercalculated the amount of paper I was going to need, so I guess I'm going to have to get another roll. 30-some years ago when we first started vegetable gardening, we did it the way you normally see it. Dirt and rows and running cultivator down in between the rows to keep the weeds down, or hoeing it. I got tired of that pretty quick and realized it's not real good for the soil or the plants that you're trying to grow in the soil. It's a lot better to not stir up the soil every couple weeks to do weeding. So we moved to this system long time ago and have tried different variations of it. We used craft paper this time. This is the first time I've used 50-pound craft paper. We have used salvage cardboard boxes that we spread out. They work great. You just get a lot of overlaps because, of course, you're not going to get a box that's this long. You can get rolled corrugated cardboard, but usually the strips are skinnier We've used newspaper, just patchwork, spread it out. The thing is, what deteriorates the paper as much as moisture is UV sunlight. And when you cover it with mulch like this, it'll last for a growing season, and it serves as a weed block that gradually deteriorates. And the mulch, of course, keeps the moisture in the soil, brings the life right up to the top of the soil, which you don't have in a garden that you're tilling the snot out of to keep the weeds down. It allows that soil right underneath to stay super rich. It's so much nicer looking than a bare garden. So we've gone to this method. The next year, when we get going on this, the year after and the year after and the year after, we don't have to till up the garden after this. We can just put down another layer of paper and mulch as needed. This mulch will stay in place and gradually rot down. Earthworms and other things will incorporate it into the soil, and you wind up with super rich, loose structure soil that way. When we go to plant this here in a couple weeks, we'll plant warm season vegetables that are frost sensitive. We'll just scoop away the mulch, make a cross-shaped hole in it with a utility knife, dig a hole, plant the vegetable in, push this stuff back in, keep the mulch back from the plant just a hair, and you're good to go. You don't really have to do very much weeding at all, and a lot less watering as the growing season goes on. As for a source of mulch that's cheap, you know, mulch can be expensive. This was free. Our town does roadside cleanup, as probably a lot of towns do. They grind up what they take off the roadside, what they trim, and they also have a yearly brush pickup where people bring brush out and the town will pick it up from in front of their house. And they turn it into this mulch, which is free if you have a way to come down and load it and bring it back. So Dad yesterday borrowed a neighbor's dump trailer and brought 4 loads of this free mulch. Now, people get concerned about what's in mulch in terms of things like poison ivy, juglone from black walnut trees, which is toxic to some other kinds of plants. This mulch is cooked for a year. You saw how it was steaming. They leave it in a pile for a year, so this was ground up last year. My experience has been that those things have zero effect after they've been in the pile and cooked. We've never had an issue with any of those sorts of compounds in the mulch. And this is darn good stuff. They're pretty careful about, you know, not having pieces of plastic in it and all kinds of garbage. So, you know, I think it's just as nice as some of the stuff you buy. My romaine lettuce is looking like it needs some fertilizing. Some of this is transplant shock. This is a Spoma Garden Tone organic fertilizer. It's made from natural things, I guess. I don't know what to call them. It's made from animal byproducts that make good fertilizer. Blood meal, bone meal, chicken feathers, and then it has mineral supplements in it as well. When I got it out of the shed this morning, it made me kind of wonder, a lot of organic growers use Spoma fertilizers which have animal byproducts in them. I don't know if vegans know that or not. They should, if they don't, that a lot of organic vegetables you buy are fertilized with animal byproducts. I don't know where they draw the line. We just work it into the top of the soil a little bit here and water it in. Before I finish in the garden here, I guess 2 more things that I forgot about. Mulching has been around for a long time, and when I was a kid, a lot of people would mulch their garden with black plastic sheets and poke holes in them and plant the vegetables through them. And then weed block fabric came along, which lets the rain in but blocks the weeds. We have used the weed block. I would never use the black plastic. The issue I have with weed block is the weeds eventually grow through it, and then it sure is a pain to get up and a pain to get all the soil and things out of. But in the end, for me, it's 2 things. The way the garden looks awful industrial, I guess, if it's covered with plastic and or weed block fabric. And the second thing is the plastic waste is just something I try to avoid whenever I can. The other thing is, how does this system deal with row crop vegetables, things like sweet corn, if you're growing bush beans, potatoes? We don't grow those things. We may plant a little sweet corn in here just for looks, but for those kinds of things, I barter for them at the farmer's market. We concentrate on tomatoes and pole beans and cucumbers and pumpkins and squash and greens and those kinds of things that don't really require long rows of them to grow. Swiss chard, we plant them sort of in groupings instead of rows. I guess the next job is to gather all these trailer loads mulch up into one big pile. There we go, good enough. And hey, while I'm out here, let's look at something. I've been debating about whether to cover the manure pile, and an easy way to figure out whether I should or not is to dig through it once in a while and look for fly larvae, otherwise known as maggots. There's some little flies above the pile, you probably can't see them, but they're not face flies or horn flies, they're little, I don't know, crap flies. I don't see anything in here though in what I've turned over so far. You know, you'd think if there were maggots they would be in the damper parts toward the surface. They're not going to go in way down deep. I don't see a single one. My theory is that those flies would rather lay their eggs in the fresh cow patties in the field than that pile. We'll keep looking. I'll keep looking, and if I see them, then we'll cover it. Oh, the birds are fighting. What do you call a crocodile that's always causing trouble? Crocodiles. An instigator. Instigator. Cows, you gotta watch out for those crocodiles. Looks like they're taking their midday siesta. The 3 most pregnant cows are here. And I don't see any new calves. Boy, they're really holding on to them. This calf drinks like a dog. Pretty crabapple blossoms. And look at the blossoms on this apple tree. It is loaded. I hear the bees at work. I've been dying to test out my new, to me, excavator. Said I was a good excavator operator. That's one of the reasons I got this, so I could practice. These are old pieces of concrete that were left over when we poured the chicken house floor, cleaned out the truck, left them there. You gotta go that way. There's an old stump underneath this grass. We'll see. Well, that was easy. Huh. I've been mowing around this stump for years. Now I won't have to anymore. I guess I had it easier than some because she's pretty rotten. The engine's got an oil leak someplace. I assume that's what it is. It doesn't smell like diesel or hydraulic fluid. I'll just wash it off. I don't think it's anything major, but try and find the source of it as I run it. She looks like a brand new excavator. Well, maybe not quite, but at least it's clean. You ready to drive it, Hill? Just in order to turn the key, you got to put this down. So, yeah, and then this locks it.
Okay.
Key's over.
Yep.
See the key?
Yeah, I do.
Give her a crank. Okay. And then if you pull it this way, it'll, whoops, I'm sorry, pull it the other way. There you go. Now try the other joystick and you can figure out what that does. Yep, the button is the thumb. And then there's a button to switch here to high throttle.
Okay.
And this lever here raises and lowers your little dozer blade. And these two levers right in front of you are just like, you know, the tracks. You can use your feet or your hands. How do you like it?
A little bit of a learning curve, but it's pretty easy, I think.
Yeah, I just got to get used to it. I have an owner's manual coming in the mail for this, and I'll go through and do a service on it. Make sure everything's all right. And then later this summer, I'm going to use it to dig sub-drainage out in the cattle's winter pasture and probably a swale. And I have a plan in here for that, and extend water line out toward where the heifer pen is so that we don't use hoses out there. Like I've said, I'll find lots of uses for it, I'm sure. What's going on, cows? You guys seem to have some, don't you do that. You guys seem to have some complaints. Judging by the looks of this pasture, you guys need to move. I know, there's always complaints. You sound like a donkey. You're the steer that thinks he's a bull. Alrighty, guys. Come on along. Well, don't go over that way. That's the winter pasture. You're supposed to go out into this lush field. Come on, buddy. Don't go that way. Come on, we're going this way. We're going over this way. Come on, Fuzzy. There you go. Sometimes they just need a little splaining. Hey, 2209. Your coat looks awesome. I'm really disappointed in you moms that there's no calves yet. I really wanted to put some in this video. This is Tulip, Patty's daughter. She's about all I look for in a cow. She's really nice, good frame, has good calves. Beautiful. Looks like you got pooped on. You got the badge of shame. The grass in the pasture is shooting up 2 feet in some places. This is the time of year when the grass grows faster than the cattle can eat it, and I've set aside 2 fields that they won't go on to make first cutting hay off of. They grazed it once and that's it. They're not going to be able to even keep up with the 20 acres that I have them rotating across now. What are you doing? This guy always just wants to play. Don't you, Paulie? Yeah, you like a chin scratch sometimes. You'd rather eat, though. I'm going to go out and do one final check before it gets dark. Here they are. Hey, guys. What's going on over there? I see a little calf. Brand new. Sally, it's your calf. Yes, you're grumbling at me. It's okay. You're brand new. You're still wet. Yes, I won't get any closer. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a heifer. Judging by your bag, Mama, he hasn't nursed yet. Or she. Getting around all right, though. Yeah. Hey, little one. Everybody's got to do the meet and greet. It's okay. She looks good. Still wet. Mom will lick her off so she dries off. She'll get her first drink. We tend to just leave them alone for this so that everybody calms down and Mom and calf can bond. I thought we were going to have a calf or calves today. Those 2 other very pregnant moms, the barometer's dropping. We're going to get some rain tonight, and that's often the time that calves come, is when the pressure changes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have 2 more in the morning. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's always great to have a calf. That's a very big deal for us. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.